Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what happened with the camera. I'm not sure if I was on. So I wanted to make sure that we were recording this. So in case you didn't know where we are going to talk about today's separation of powers, or which is commingling assets and mastering your finances between business and personal. So why is this skill important? When you have your business, mixed business and personal, what happens is on the business end, we cannot tell of how much your business is actually worth. Now, I used to have a client years ago, and she was a dental client. And what she used to do was on her business card, she used to have all her Bloomingdale shopping. Now, her husband hired me, and he was like, Margot, we really need help. Now, not only did he say they really need help, he really did not know what was happening, because he was like, why is Bloomingdale's on my business credit card? And then, I don't know, something around the kids' bikes and things like that. And what they were looking to do is that one of the partners that were in the team wanted to buy into the business, and they couldn't really tell around the value of the business. So what I explained to her was, when you go to the store, you can shop and do whatever you want, but just if you have a separate card, just take that card out. Now, when you make a mistake, accounting can fix that, no problem. But long term, what happens is that you're just creating more accounting work. And with the more accounting work, it's giving you more work and more of a fee for the wrong reasons. And chances are what's going to happen is that your bill is going to be higher. So think of a stew, okay? Think of a hot stew where you are going to stir the stew. Now we put the onions, we put the oil, we put the onions, we put the garlic, we let it simmer, right? Then you put the celery, you put the carrots, and you put all the other vegetables. Now, what happens next after that? You have to put your sauce, because it's a stew, and anything else that you're going to put in. Now, you're not going to put in your hair products, right? You're not going to put in your salad products of like romaine, and I mean, these days maybe you are, but you're going to pay attention to what is in that stew, or chances are follow a recipe. It's the same thing with business. What happens at home is at home, and what happens in business is for business. Now, lots of us work remotely, right? You're looking at my home right now. Lots of us work for ourselves, and we're kind of like, I need to pay my bills. So stick with me, and I'm going to explain so that you can hear this through the end. And if there's more questions, I can always do another training on this, because there's so much to this topic. So when we have a credit card that has just our business expenses, we actually know what our business is spending. When we now have our personal expenses, we know what our personal life needs and how much we need to fund our life, that we can take that as a distribution or a salary. We'll go into as a training at a later date to take that from the business on a schedule. Now, lots of times people don't know how to do those things, so they just mix things because they don't know. For the sake of this video, stick with me. I want you to see the importance. Now, assuming in business you did follow and you did separate business and personal, what's going to happen is that you're going to open yourself up to the opportunity to be able to get credit cards, to be able to get loans, to be able to get lines of credit. You could even get business line of credit. There's so many different things. Now, none of this stuff is easy. None of this stuff is overnight. It's steps every day. And like I was saying in the other video around income generating activities, it's the little steps every day that accrue over time that build up. So let's say you are going through a hard time and you need to take an advance for the business, for extra cash flow, for advancing, for growth, for payroll, for whatever it is. You're going to have an easier time to get this if you have your expenses in line. Because what the bank does is that when they see these expenses, they add it back to your income, and then you may not get the amount that you're looking for. It's going to be all misconstrued according to, the reports and everything are all going to be messy. So when you have the business, you're going to be able to get proper credit. And with the personal, we're going to be able to finance our life appropriately, okay? Now, let's say it becomes a timing issue of when you need to pay a bill that that's why certain of these things are happening, that you're mixing business and personal. Great question. It's a common question that I ask with this. This is where it's called cash flow engineering in the business, to be able to operate things to gain on time so that you can still be good with your vendors, or time payments and bills around when things happen so that you don't have to mess up the system. Because think about it like this: if we mess up the system, it's more accounting work and higher fees. When you have higher fees, nobody likes to pay that. What we like to do is keep you into a system, but the more you listen to the system, the more we can give you better fees. So separation of powers is for the business and for personal. And what we want you to do is to be able to have credit and know what the business is worth. Now, at the end of the day, also at the bottom of our profit and loss statement, you're going to know what the business actually made. So when we know what the business actually made, we also know what it costs to hold the business. Now, because all of these things become very confusing, because it could be like you have a debit card, you have a credit card, you have all these different forms of payment, what I'm going to tell you is choose one form of payment so that everything funnels through that way, so that you have one deadline to work through and everything just flows through that way, through like a system. It could be where things work where it doesn't, and then we have to make decisions or, journal entries and whatnot. But for a regular system, when you're operating this alone, I want you to be able to know the importance, so that when you are in an accounting firm like myself, like mine, to work with, or if you're in somebody else's, the importance of it, so that you know what you're spending. And also, if we're working on your business and not your personal, we don't need to know your personal expenses. That's what I was explaining to the dental client, is that I don't need to know how much she was spending at Bloomingdale's. She didn't care, but it was just like, why do I need to know? Because that was her personal life, and I was really only for the business. Now, for her, it was a bit extreme, because I had to take her wallet and I literally labeled her wallet so that it doesn't happen, because it just wasn't flying yet, but it did. And when it did, we were able to find a partner who was investing into the business. Not that this specific business needed the money, they needed the people, because it was growing so fast. And that's what I hear a lot in the mental health practices, is that people want more help because of how much of a demand it is to build the business and to uphold it. The more you do these foundations from the beginning, the better it is across business, and it just builds with you. And the better you take care of the business, your money will take care of you. And then when you want to find somebody to buy the business, to retire and give your book of business, it's not going to be a problem. It's going to be an asset that you can share. Now, some of you may hear that and you're going to be like, whoa, Margo, I don't think I can do that. It is possible. As you clean up these assets and these systems in your business, it works off of itself. I've seen clients do it. I've seen clients come in messy. I've seen clients come in the medium and in the low, all of the different things, and it works. It's just that we have to spend time to do the work. Okay? I'm going to check my notes. Okay. The other thing I want to talk about is that if we don't have separation of powers, we don't get proper classification. So what happens is, classification is the way that we itemize our expenses. Now, the way that we itemize our expenses is the way we reduce our tax bill, okay? So stay with me. When we itemize our expenses in QuickBooks, this is the way we can pay less taxes. Now, I have some clients right now who are doing both, and it's becoming very difficult to follow what they're doing because we don't do both books, and they're trying to find their expenses, and their tax bills are very high. And we have all sorts of the map of people. However, explaining to you the skills from the get-go will hopefully put you into a better spot. So let's say, for instance, on your credit card, you now have like $1,000 worth of expenses that are really personal. It becomes a little quirky on how these get categorized because it's not technically business expenses, and you're trying to get away with things, or you didn't know, and all of these things, but it doesn't follow compliance law. So you want to be able to follow perfect compliance or as close as possible, so that your business could, follow the law and you have less to worry about. And that's part of the beauty of being an accounting firm, is that we hold the compliance for you, and then you just get to follow the system so that you can operate in your genius zone. So I want you to think about how important the classification is, because then that takes into our take-home salary, like we were talking about, that we can fund our business, because now we know how much we're making, because we were able to separate the two pots of what we were spending and really know. Now, sometimes clients think that it's more powerful to spend on repairs than investing into the business and having the proper support. To each its own. However, if you are thinking about services, chances are you need it. And the first step is to have a conversation. And I share that because the common question I have is, because there's a lot of DIYers out there, of what's the common step. Then the common next step, or the next step, is to have a conversation, and our firm meets you where you're at. And what that means is that all our services are built with the entrepreneurial journey, to take you with it, with the entrepreneurial journey and the compliance, so that you can file the tax return. Now, I will say this, before any conversation or where you are, think, what is your biggest problem right now, and ways to solve it. And chances are, if it's out of your genius zone, it's going to cost your business way more to be out of that problem than to get help. And that's the way to diagnose things for the most part on hiring people. And yes, it costs, but chances are together is better, because we put our heads together and there's so much more to gain. So for that note, I'm going to check my notes one more time. So to tie this in, we were talking about so that you could have the financial statements, so that you can take out a loan, a credit card, maybe buy a car. A lot of my business owners want to invest in office space, to rent the building, so you need credit. All of those things, it's going to help. Any questions, as always, let me know. Stay tuned for tomorrow's training. Each day, this information is building on each other. I hope you enjoy the questions so that you can get the pile-up effect of these. Feel free to share it and tag me with questions. Friday is a live Q&A together in Zoom. I look forward to seeing you all there. Last week's was so powerful, and it was so nice to see the business owners together to really join and to help each other, in addition to what I was able to share. But I love when business owners share together, because it takes away the competition, because there's more than enough business out there. Talk soon, and I look forward to talking to you more.